Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So what I'm going to do today, I will talk a little bit more about the conversation design process because in the previous episode I obviously briefly touched about what do you mean by conversation design, right? And importance of a conversation design and why it matters when you're trying to build any product or any business in today's time, right? So when you look at the conversation design, right, obviously, it's true that the end response uh, with with the customer matters a lot, right? In the form of a conversation using a bot or any other omni-channel. But that being said, to reach to that level, the business needs to follow certain policies or certain procedures to ensure that they align with the company model as well as with the customer expectation. So what I mean by that is that if you're trying to build a service bot, you need to understand the pain point of a customer, and based on that, your conversation should be modeled. It shouldn't be based on what you think is right. It should be based on the experience your business has with the customer or the customer has with your business, right? You got to get the feedback. You got to involve the customer. It's an iterative process, right? So keeping that into consideration, there are four steps I want to talk about. It's in Trailhead, pretty beautiful looking picture, right? First is the discover phase. So you discover what's the actual problem, right? I'll tell you from my experience, right? I haven't actually built a chatbot for a business. Chatbot in the sense I've used Einstein, and I've used other AI stuff, but not really from a chatbot perspective. So let me talk you through from other omni-channel perspective, right? So the first thing first, right? You got to discover. The discovery stage is very important. So in the discovery stage, usually what involves is that your interaction, how so discover. Sorry, let me repeat that again. So in the discovery stage, what's important is what is the customer requirement? What is that customer expect from the business, right? For instance, I give an example of the pressure cooker. So you bought a pressure cooker, right? And something goes wrong with the pressure cooker. Obviously, your first reaction as a consumer will be, or as a customer will be, let me dial 1-800 number, or let me email them, right? Whichever you feel comfortable. Or if they have any social media presence, you prefer to send them a message to say, hey, I have an issue with my pressure cooker. This is my order number. Can someone please assist me with it, right? So now that is a one way a customer will interact with your business, which is great. Now, in the discovery phase, you need to figure out, right? Okay, so this one phase where the customer will interact with the business, that's the one way using one omni-channel, using say a social media platform, right? So that's you need to consider that. And another way, you need to look at the pattern, the way customer often ask questions. At times, customers are not very sophisticated, right? They wanted to get their problem sorted. So they might say, hey, this is my name, this is my order number, and this is my problem. At times, they may not provide you with full information. So you might have to work on that data, right? So you just have to acknowledge that data could be limited. So you have to build your bot or your customer experience based on that, right? And also based on asking further questions. Like for instance, if you're building a bot, and if the bot says, "Hey, how can I help?" and the customer says, "My name is XYZ, and this is my order number, and I'm sorry, I'm writing on behalf of this issue I'm having with a pressure cooker," and then the customer will ask, "Okay, can you verify your date of birth and address?" Right? So simple, right? And based on that, it will take you to different steps. So that's a part of a discovery process where the team get together, try to understand what's the optimum way to service your customer, right? Because I know that you might say that this can be applied to different industries. That's true. But I'm just talking from a service-based industry for now, right? Where just taking the example of the pressure cooker company, which manufacture pressure cooker, and you as a customer wanted to interact with the business, right? That's great, fantastic. I hope that's clear, right? It's a discovery phase to see what exactly we're trying to do, what's the problem we're trying to address, right? And what's the kind of conversation we're going to build in our bot, or what's the kind of other omni-channel we're going to use, right? Good. Now we have idea, right? Obviously, So once you had the brainstorming sessions, once write down all of this stuff in a squiggly paper, it's time to put that in form of presentation or in the form of a document, right? So everything what you discussed is recorded in a document, on a Word document or a PowerPoint, right? So and then you can represent that idea to the business again. Hey, this is what we discussed. This is what our final, um, you know, uh, decision a point around the things we wanted to build. Yeah. Now this has certain aspects to it. Just for instance, like you may not get everything right in the first presentation. The business will say, "Hey, can you do that? Can you do that?" So it's like an iterative process, right? So you might have to go through back and forth few times, and you might also get a stakeholder who do not have much understanding, like a normal business person, but you don't know much technical stuff, right? So you need to make sure that you don't include too many technical jargon, right? If you are a business analyst or let's say solution architect, so your main job is to bridge the gap between business and technology, right? So you are the go-to person for on both sides of the spectrum. So remember that, right? So when you're talking with the business people, your language should be exactly the way they understand. So when you're talking the other side of the spectrum, when you're talking with let's say technology people, developers, or other fellow architects, you got to wear a technology hat, right? Because they're using the business terms may not go very well. So the same way you can't really use the tech jargon with the business people. So the it's the same goes for the business analyst, right? So okay, now after that, you need to work on a prototype. Prototype does not really mean you have to build a functioning product. Yes, it is a great way. If you are, let's say, for instance, if you're building something on a Salesforce ecosystem, you can pretty much build it, right? And like a cut down version of what exactly you're trying to do and can demo it. But if you can't do that, you can use the wireframes. That's one way, yeah. Or you can also use other architecture diagram tools and modeling stuff to demonstrate it. And once that's done, uh, take it to the stakeholders and demonstrate it, right? The demo is very important. Now, based on the demo, you will get some feedback, and based on the feedback, you can go back to the whole process, incorporate it, run it again, demo it, go back to the whole process, right? So till you get the final approval to say, hey, let's go ahead. So now that is from a process perspective or from a life cycle perspective, I would say conversation design process life cycle, right? Starting from an idea to a prototype. Now that does means that you're going to involve with a lot of people, right? You're going to work with different stakeholders, marketing people. Marketing people are the one who will actually promote this stuff, and UX designer to actually tell you where you put your bot in a website. And then you have subject matter expert who will have a lot of experts and domain knowledge. And then you have probably different managers like a product owner or a product manager, right? And also someone who, yeah, I mean, document writer could be either way, right? I mean, it could you are a solution architect, you should be, you know, I mean, some of the realm falls in the solution architecture space, like for instance, documentation, functional design, and I'm not saying to write a business diagrams. I mean, it does help sometimes. Solution architects do that. The same goes with the enterprise architects. So, um, so yeah, that's the people you're going to dealing with, and also the most important people you're going to work with. That's the engineering team, right? The people who actually build the product. Engineering lead, you'll be developers, and then the testing team will be testing it. So you'll be working with so many different people. So conversation design, it's just not about right. Okay, I got an idea. Let me start coding it and releasing it. No, it's it's way too complicated than that, right? So if you think that that's the process to do that, just get the requirement and start building it. Then there's seriously a flaw in your design, right? A flaw in the design process. It has to go through a certain chain of approval process. I'm not saying to add the level of bureaucracy. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying to go through different stages of revision, right? To have version one, version two, version three, to come up a conclusion. Hey, this is the one we're gonna hit, right? So yeah, and I also said business analyst, you're going to work with data scientists is usually when you're dealing with machine learning stuff, right? So I just keep that thing aside for now. So yeah, this is a fancy looking conversation design, right? It touches on different things, right? Domain expert, marketing, engineering, documentations, all of this uh, is a part of this conversation design, and this is important. Each step is important, right? And each box, as you can say, it plays a very important role, right? So yeah, that's in general. I just wanted to talk about from a design process, right? I hope you understood. I hope you can relate. Maybe you might have done something similar in the past. So this is a really cool thing, in my opinion. So that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing Sunday. Adios.